Love? Love is an underlying force for everything we do. Without it, we'd be mindless drones, walking around reproducing with no ceremony or significance. Even animals experience what we call love. Despite being commonplace in the everyday, love still remains elusive in terms of an exact description. If we were to ask a group of people from different backgrounds and cultures what love is, you'd receive a range of answers, some lengthy, others direct and to the point. Given the vast range of what love encompasses, we've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started. Going back a few stages in your metamorphosis, we start at babies. Who doesn't love babies? As a baby fresh to the world, you most likely don't understand anything, especially love. However, this is where we as a person receive our first encounter with this love thing everyone's always talking about. You probably feel love as a baby, but the focus at this stage isn't your love, but the love of your parents. From the moment of your conception, depending on your circumstances, you're likely loved long before you even have sentience. The love of a mother and father for one's child is boundless and primal. We've been long aware of this sensation. Famous country singer George Strait even wrote a song about a father who made sure his son got into heaven after he died, as proof for how strong the love of one's father is. Not even having been born, there are those who would do anything to make sure that you are, giving their lives for you if need be. In this fetal stage, your lack of personality beyond a few kicks and cravings is enough to create a lifetime bond between you and your parents, only raising more questions about love. After birth, eventually we grow past our babiness, where our love starts to go beyond laughing at recognized familiar blurry faces, into toddlerism. As young, walking and talking junior people, we expand your capacity for love, using our skills and behaviors to show the ones around us our love for them. Remember drawing pictures or making things for your parents to keep or hang up? It's small in the grand scheme of things, but this is where we begin to learn our proper expressions of love. Verbalizing words of affirmation, wanting to spend time together for just the sake of it, and giving gifts, as mentioned earlier, are all ways children show love to those around them, and not a huge amount changes as we grow. These are 3 of the love languages, which we'll talk about later in the video. Besides our parents' and families' love, we as individuals begin forming connection with those in our environment not immediately related to us. We call these people friends. Despite being significantly less dramatic in most cases, we have a fondness and affection for our friends. I'm not afraid to say I love my friends, and you shouldn't be either. Love is not a limited resource that demeans as you give it out. It's limitless and comes from within. You decide the amount of love in your heart. Everyone needs a friend, and the importance of friends will only rise as we go forward in life. Some even make lifelong friends without even knowing it. Between the ages of teen and toddler, we find ourselves branching out more and more. We develop specialized interests like sports, art, and other activities. Love goes beyond people. You can have a true passion for what you do. What if the only time you feel alive is when you're out on the field or up on stage? You can love what you do and choose to do it with a smile every day. Along with activities and people, our love for things around us begins to expand beyond the inherited. Places, animals, items, acts. Love encompasses all. Growing into a spiteful teenager, our love becomes messy. It's not as simple as, oh, I love my dog, and oh, I love my parents. If anything, at this age, the perfect illusion that our parents know all begins to fade, and our love becomes circumstantial and situational, as they become people just like the rest of us. As a teenager, I was a force of rage and resentment. I had feelings of rejection from my surroundings because I moved around so much and my parents were divorced. I realized if I was lucky, I would spend at most 100 more days with my grandparents at the rate I was seeing them. I didn't love anything, not even myself, so I turned to the world of substances. Weed and alcohol did a pretty good job, but once I found pills, my love had returned. Pills were exactly what I wanted and thought I needed. A small little circle that contained a new emotional state letting me escape my loneliness. Need some energy to work? There's a pill for that. Need to relax? Here's another. Feeling a pain no one can see? There's a pill for that, yes sirree. What's worse is, once you're high, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, high, there's a sweet spot where no one can tell, and people actually seem to like you more because of your relaxed, confident demeanor. Or at least, that's what I thought. Those around you can always tell something's a little different, no matter how mild you think you're being. Eventually, the magic fades from substance abuse, and I was left even more hollow than when I began, now with a dependency. The substance is no longer filling my void. I looked outward. If I couldn't love myself, maybe I could get someone else to do it for me. And as a teenager, your parents' love doesn't count, or so we think. As teenagers, feelings of attraction begin to enter the scene. It's at this stage that we begin to develop the earliest bits of our own personal sexuality. Around the teenage years, you'll take more interest in those around you in a more biological way, if you know what I'm saying. Those childhood crushes turn into personal desires. From the ages of 13 to 18, I dated around a lot, breaking hearts. It's fucked up and disgusting, but I remember enjoying the feeling of making someone as sad as I was. In a way, I wasn't alone anymore. Looking back, I can't even place myself in my teenage shoes, being so far removed from that headspace a decade later. Children are cruel, and I'm not above humanity. My cruel love that I gave very limitedly still haunts me to this day. People are quick to blame their actions on their circumstance. I'm not one of those people. Despite my drug addiction and an unstable environment, I did what I did and I own those acts. My senior year of high school, I had an epiphany. I was ruining my life and turning into a loser. High school was the last stages of training wheels in life, before I'm released like a fish into the ocean in the real world. What had I been doing? Living out euphoria? The first step in the right direction would be to get clean. Over the course of the school year, I would go on to fight my addiction and my bad grades. The anxiety returned, my depression was present, I was having a crisis of identity. However, in the eye of the storm, clarity had struck me. I had fallen in love with the challenge of living. I got lucky, very, very lucky, to have the resources around me that I did, to overcome my demons. It turned out my parents did love me despite my years of rage towards them, for reasons that I didn't understand at the time. My brother, who I was a dickhead to for a majority of his birth, turned out to be my best friend. For the first time in a long time, I had felt the love around me in a new and healthy way. Shaping my act up and getting it together, it was by the skin of my teeth I had gotten into college. With my world completely turned upside down from 8 months ago, a new perspective on life and a clean bill of health, I was ready to face the world as a functioning member of society. Don't get me wrong, my life as a teenager wasn't all bad. I had moments of great happiness where love did prevail. I worked hard on my art, loving every piece I would submit to competitions, and also worked backstage in tech theater, working the ropes. Additionally, my teenage loneliness pushed me to find a deeper connection with nature and animals, something I still have to this day. The point of bringing up my own struggle about the teenage years in this video is to tell you no matter how dire the circumstances, love can still be found in all. With that said, congratulations. You pretty much survived the worst stage of being alive. Welcome to your 20s. Just when I thought I had it all figured out, bam, enters Kaylee, stage left. I was sitting in my intro to mass communications class during the first week of school, lost in thought and sitting in the front row because I was a good student now. A sing-songy voice out of my line of sight asked me a question. Hey, can I sit here? I was bad at eye contact then, so I only looked briefly, but she was wearing a blue Converse windbreaker over an NSYNC t-shirt. One thing was certain, she was beautiful. I quickly said no, go ahead. She sat down next to me and began taking out her notebook for class. I was stunned. I couldn't muster a word to say or even make direct eye contact, so I just sat there, mute, staring straight ahead like some kind of weirdo. Halfway through class, thank God, the professor tells us to talk amongst our peers about an idea we were going over. I looked over at the girl who sat down next to me, and she was already piercing me with her beautiful brown eyes. We talked briefly about the subject, but then got into our personal lives. She had mentioned that we also had another class together, but because I had sat in front of every class, I hadn't noticed her. Eventually class ended, and we began exiting the building together. As we were parting ways, I called out nervously that my name is Gideon. She hollered back, I'm Kaylee. Little did I know at the time, I had just met my wife. Love is crazy and swoops in like a hawk. Sure, it can be built up over time, but from my own personal experience, it's a wrecking ball. From the moment I met Kaylee, I was instantly swooned. I had never felt this way about anything. We've had our ups and downs since then, but through everything, we've only grown stronger for it. It's as if I found my other half I didn't really know I was missing. She's an extension of myself at this point with how close we are. We are independently dependent. Sure, we do great things on our own, but together, we are an unstoppable force that can move mountains. You, my viewers, will have no idea how happy I am that no one sat next to me that day. Love is boundless and shapeless. It takes many forms and indefinite quantities. As obscure as that is, it's about as accurate as it gets. To give more substantial terms instead of just saying love is something, you may have heard of love languages. Seeing as how I'm only 23 years old, I feel if I speculated on the future of love for me, it would be inaccurate and not reliable for you all. So for now, we end our journey through life, but tune in for Love Part 2 in 30 years on an update for Kaylee, our kids, and myself. Despite this being the end of our journey through life, for now, I still have more to say about love. Love languages, mentioned earlier, were a concept written about in a book authored by Gary Chapman in 1992. Today, people are more inclined to state as a fact that there are the Keystone 5 languages. I argue that there are more, but they get a little niche. Allow me to list the 5 briefly. gifts, or the giving of them. Acts of service like mowing the lawn and making the bed. Words of affirmation such as telling your partner they look really good today. Quality time, just like really engaging and spending time with the other person. This could be going on a date. Finally, physical touch, making contact with your significant other. My problem with the 5 love languages is that they sort of imply that if you do these things, then your partner will feel love. Love goes beyond the categorization. You have to truly feel what you're doing. Moreover, I think the 5 love languages are side effects of being in love. You'll naturally do all of these languages to a degree if you feel love in your heart, no matter what kind. I'm a hugger, especially if we've met before. Handshakes are good at first, but hugging lets a person know that you have nothing to fear. Here I am, open to all you are. At least, in my mind, I try to make every hug feel that way. It's okay if our junk touches. It's not about that. It's about the hug, not the junk. Positivity is a chain reaction. Having a full and honest approach to each person, recognizing their own unique backgrounds, is a great way of spreading love. Not every asshole you encounter is going to be the same rude person. Surprisingly, everyone's terrible for their own reasons. But it would help the overall state of the world if you tried and approached them with an open mind. People often lash out when they're hurt, but you're so far removed from their situation, you just see the mindless lashing out. Show those who have been hurt in the past that you are a person who understands pain, that your love is limitless and what it's capable of, not only for the person in front of you, but for yourself. If you come to these videos looking for a message, then take this away. Love everything you do, every second of every moment. Love your fellow man, love your planet and your job. Wake up ready to make this place all the better, and use love as your motivator. Anyone can hate, anyone. To love unrestricted and boundless takes true strength. To give a good answer of what love is to me from my own personal experience, love is the driving force for all that is good in the world. The same force behind every vaccine, every letter sent to faraway lands, every rainy day enjoyed from the comforts of your home, happy you have a reason to bundle up. The world isn't so bad, just remember to give love a chance. I've been your host, Gideon, and I'm happy to announce that we're getting super close to our 1,000 subscriber marker. When we reach this goal, I'll throw all the thumbnails from the last few videos on t-shirts and a limited supply merch drop on my website. In the meantime, please like and subscribe. Peace out!